Whew. It is chilly down here. I am in my basement right now, and wow, am I cold right now. Whew. Alright guys, so this right here is, this is going to be our Q&A and our giveaway video. This is Haight's Wanderings. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I am a kayak and raft fisherman in the Upper Peninsula. I am a teacher most of the year, and in the summers I also guide fishing trips. My content is as remote as possible, and we're all about smallmouth. Whoa. Alright, we're back. So we had a bit of technical difficulties there. But we are back. I was just saying, I'm all about the smallmouth and all about the muskie and all about releasing those fish back out into the water. So today there are two purposes for this video, guys. Number one, we are revealing our giveaway winners. There are two of them. And secondly, we're going to go through and do a bunch of Q&A responses. I think there were like 45, maybe 45 questions that were on the giveaway video, and so I'm going to go through and I'm going to do my best to respond to everyone. I can't get to everyone, unfortunately. I just don't think I have enough time for that. But maybe we'll do a two-part Q&A. We'll see how it goes. But first off, there were two winners. I'm going to post right now the video footage so you'll see it's legit. We have WRamsey. I think it's 193. He was our first winner today, so I'll be getting in contact with him and we'll see what prize he chooses. And the second one is Camas who I actually follow on Instagram, so that's pretty cool. So we will be contacting both of those guys. Congratulations. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. And actually thank all of you so much for following the channel, supporting the channel. I do this as a hobby on the side, guys, and I have a lot of fun with it. But you know what? It's a bit of a chore sometimes, and it's really cool reading comments and getting interaction from all of you. It makes it so much more worthwhile for me. So without further ado, let's get going on these questions. Like I said, I am in my basement. My dog and my baby are upstairs running around right now. So if you hear anything like bumping in the dark, that's just my wonderful little daughter and also my dog. So I'm going to pull up the questions right here, and I'm going to read them, and I'm going to respond. We'll see how this goes. Alright guys, so I'm just going to be starting at the top of my comment list, and I'm just going to be going down. Before I get started, I want to do a quick shout out. I'm not like endorsed or anything, but I love this Yeti mug. My wife got this for me for Christmas. It's engraved with my logo. It is so cool. And you know, I never really bought a Yeti before because they're expensive and I didn't want to pay for it. But now I realize why it's worth it. Like, keeps my tea hot all day. I love it. So let's roll. Trout 1. He says, there's a lot of great questions in the comments, such as the one that Emma left about moving. And he is moving from Wisconsin to Florida, and he can't wait for the next video. Oh, I guess he didn't actually have a question. He just wanted to say he really enjoys the intro. So thank you, Trout 1. Good luck with your trip to Florida. Next question comes from Zib187. Now, Zib187, he is throwing a little bit of shade my way. His question is, are you planning on getting a haircut anytime soon? My man Zib, did you have to go there? That's a knock below the belt, my man. So about the haircut, it's quite long. I know it's in a man bun right now, so you guys can't tell how long it is. My hair is like down to here. Crazy long. The only reason I really have it this long is my wife promised me like a year and a half ago. She said, I guarantee you're going to get so annoyed with your hair, you're going to cut it off. 1 week into summer, you'll cut it off. And I looked at her and said, I have a little bit more patience than that. And now 2 years later, I'm still going strong. So you know what, Zib? It could happen any day, or it could happen in a couple of years. It really depends on how bothersome it is. Having long hair is such a chore. But anyways, thanks, Zib. Sean Karen says, assuming everything goes as planned, how long do you think you'll be doing guided trips in Michigan? So I'm like 33 years old right now. I plan on raising my daughter in the Upper Peninsula. So she's nearly 2. So I plan on being here at least until she graduates high school. So what is that? Another 16, 17? Let's just call it another 20 years. I plan on being in the area for at least 20 years. Someday I think I'd like to move back to Alaska, maybe for the summers. I don't know, but 20 years, we'll see. Chris King says, living where you do, you have access to a ton of different species to target. Is there anywhere else you'd really want to fish? And if so, where would it be and what would you be fishing for? So other places I want to fish and what I'd fish for. If I could fish anywhere, I would probably fish in like, I don't know, Ecuador, Bolivia, Peru, Colombia, Brazil. I would go after golden dorado. I would go after peacock bass, that is. I think that would be so cool. I lived in Ecuador for a while, and I had the opportunity to fish, but we were fishing with hand line, like literally throwing out with and then pulling in the line. And we were fishing for catfish and things called palomitas. I don't really know what it is in English. And then we were also fishing for piranha. But we ate everything that we caught at that point in time. So yeah, I'd fish in the Amazon, my man. I think it would be so very cool. Michael McCoy. Hey there, Michael. It's nice to see you. Question. Of the musky baits behind you in this video, I guess these ones you're talking about, what is the best cold water musky bait? He says, for your information, he's so grateful for the channel, and he wants the giveaway to go to someone else. Well, all right, Michael, best cold water musky bait. You know, I have a really hard time answering these types of questions because I don't fish cold water muskie. I don't fish cold water muskie, so I don't really know. I would go with a slower bait, a slower presentation, so I could tell you that. But truthfully, I fish summer muskie, and I don't really fish them other times of the year, so I don't know. Good question, though. I'm having a light problem here, so I'm going to fix this, and I'll be right back. All right, we fixed that problem. We are back, guys. So sorry, Michael, I can't really answer that question. All right, Christina Hernandez says, how do you approach going to a stream for the first time? What do you research prior to going? And how do you pick it apart when you get there? Oh, I'm so sorry. This is Christian Hernandez. Sorry about that. I read your name wrong. I apologize. He's asking about going to a stream for the first time. How do I pick it apart? Well, first off, I do a little bit of basic Google sleuthing beforehand, and I try to figure out, you know, what the watershed is, what possible species there. I assume you're talking about trout, but perhaps you're talking about, you know, bass or whatnot. You know, you could have smallmouth in streams as well, but usually that's more of a trout question. So really you're looking at, is it going to be a brook trout river? Is it going to be a brown trout? Is it connected to Great Lakes or something? Maybe you're going to have potentially rainbows or, you know, lake fish that are coming in there. So it kind of depends on those factors. If you're fishing a body of water that's connected to the Great Lakes, you probably are going to want to go heavier on your gear because you might hook into a steelhead, you might hook into a salmon, I don't know. But if it's in a creek that's not connected to those things, then you can go ultra light because you know you're going to only be running into brook trout or potentially browns. But yeah, I do as much research as I can, and then on my first trip when I go there to that stream, I have no expectations. I think this is super important. Don't have expectations if you're going to a place for the first time. Just go, have a variety of tackle with you so that you can explore, you can test new things, and once you dial in what works, then you can go back another time, and at that point you can have expectations. But never, hype yourself up and say, oh, this is going to be the best spot ever because you found it on like Google Maps, and you're like, I'm going to catch 1,000,000 trout here. There might only be suckers there. You don't even know. So just go with the mindset of seeing what is there, and you're going to have a lot better time. Thank you, Christian. All right, so Emma Cordry, I think I said that right, says she is in the middle of a cross-country move. Oh, I'm going to dismiss that. She is in the middle of a cross-country move, and does she have any tips on finding new fishing spots when you're brand new to an area? Fishing spots when you're brand new to an area. You could join a fishing community online. There are a lot of people out there that when you join a community and you show them that you're not there to like steal their resource, then they're more likely to kind of be willing to share places and tips and ideas. You could perhaps go to a local bait shop. You could meet people in the area. I think those are all really great ways to find places to fish. Another option is you could, simply go on Google. And I know I said this already for the other question, but Google Maps is fantastic. You need to know what water is legal to fish. Public water is your friend. Private water is not your friend. Depending on what state you're in, there are a variety of different laws out there, and don't assume that just because you can do it in one state, you can do it in another. For instance, in Michigan, you can walk on any navigable river on the shore or the river line, even through private property. You can do that. And I know for a fact that in other states, they don't always have those same laws. So be careful, know where you're going, find somebody to take you along. I think that's one of the best ways. Or just experiment, just go fishing. If you don't catch anything, okay, try again. That's kind of the fun of it, is the exploration process, at least for me. Thank you, Emma. All right, so Meg Katie 11. She says that she loves watching my videos. They're absolute favorites. Thank you so much for that nice comment. She's getting into trout fishing, mainly stocked rainbow trout in small rivers. Her question is, what is my favorite trout fishing lure bait on an ultralight rod? Does it change for stocked trout versus wild trout? I'm not sure if I've ever fished for stocked trout. I'm trying to think right now, and I don't think I have. I would assume stocked trout would hit on the same types of presentations as wild trout. I would assume it'd be easier to catch stocked trout. Somebody in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong. I know that stocked trout will eat a variety of like scented baits, but I'm not really a fan of that kind of fishing. I like to fish fast and go all over the place. I think a small spinner, single hook, crimp the barb, is a great all-round trout lure. It's fun. If you want to get really fancy, get a single spinner, single hook, tie a line onto the back of that hook, and then at the end of it, you can attach a piece of like artificial roe. That's what I'd actually fish with in Alaska. So I'd have my spinner down to a tiny piece of artificial roe, and I would catch dolly varden and rainbow trout on both of those presentations. That's my favorite. I really like, I think it's called the Mepps, like mayfly, I think it's what it's called. It's this little, or no, I take it back, it's called a thunderbug. I really like that little thunderbug for trout. It's kind of a cool little lure, and it holds up better than some of the other ones that fall apart after a couple of fish. Steve Shapiro, hey there. Hey Steve, hopefully we get to fish sometime this year. I just bought a raft to float my rivers close to home. What is the most underrated piece of gear you use on your raft? What is the most necessary? I think the most underrated piece of gear on a raft, this is going to sound a little weird, but organizational tools, storage, anything. You have to have proper organization and storage, because if you don't, things go everywhere, things get lost, and the raft no longer is fun, it becomes a source of frustration. And if you can keep all of your things tidy, in the right place at the right time, and only bring what you need to bring, you're going to be so much happier. So that's what I would say is like the most underrated. You would think, you know, something fancy like the oars or the anchor or the seats, but I'd say storage is super important. But yeah, good luck with that, Steve. Tell me how that goes. Jason W. says, love your channel. Thank you, Jason. He says, I found it a few years ago during a particularly anxious period of my life, and the scenery and fishing in your videos helped bring me back down to level. Plus, I was missing the UP something fierce. I'm really glad that I could, you know, kind of bring back a little bit of nostalgia for you. He says, I sometimes struggle explaining to people why I love to fish, especially since by and large I'm a catch and release guy. So that's my question for you. As someone who clearly loves fish and nature, what is it that keeps you obsessed? Wow, that's a deep question. That's a big question. Oh geez, I'm going to sound a little bit like a tree hugger here. But communing with nature. I know I sound like my dad when I say that. But communing with nature, getting out and just being in the presence of trees, water, rocks, wind. I know that sounds silly, but it's recharging for me. I'm an introvert, which might come as a surprise to you, as I have a YouTube channel and I guide people fishing, and I'm also a teacher, but I am an introvert. So doing social actions, it drains my energy, and by going fishing, I revitalize myself, re-energize myself, and that would probably be my number one reason, is just getting out and recharging. Thank you for the great question, by the way. All right, so Stephen Kappingist, I know I butchered your last name. I apologize about that. As you explore an option for a river trip you've never tried, how do you verify that the river is navigable for your boat/kayak? Oof. This is a difficult one because I don't want to give you any bad information and then have you go on a river that's sketchy. That's the thing about most of our river systems, is there's a lot of gradient to them, and depending on the water levels, if they're up or if they're low, they can be dangerous. There's like a happy middle ground where usually the rivers are fairly okay, but the lower you get, the more exposed rocks, the more, you know, trees and branches that are underneath that you can get snagged in, and the higher they are, that water is ripping. So how do you know that something is safe? Well, you could go to the takeout point and you could paddle upriver. That's actually what I've done. Is I take all day and I paddle miles all the way upriver, and I come to places and I realize, yep, I can get through here, or nope, I cannot get through here. And that's a good way to do it. Another way is to have somebody take you, and then you have an idea. But definitely go from the takeout and go upriver. And also I guess if you're doing something for the first time, it's always better to have lower water rather than higher water. And I know I said low water is bad, but the thing about low water is at the very least you can get out, you can drag your boat around, you can carry your boat around rapids. High water, you have no mercy. You are at whatever the water does, it's going to take you through there. So low water is better, but still it's sketchy. So you got to know what you're doing. John Smith says he doesn't have a question, but he just wanted to say that the videos are easy on the eyes. He likes the chill approach to the videos, and happy holidays in tight lines. So thank you, John, and happy holidays and tight lines to you as well, my man. Thank you. Charles Lucas. So Charles Lucas is talking about, he asks if there are any places or spots that I wouldn't take clients. Something's in my ceiling. So that I won't expose it. So he asks if there's any places that I won't take people to as to not expose location. The short answer is yes. I have locations that are very special to me that I don't feel like it's my place to show other people those locations. Maybe because I was shown them in the first place and I don't think it's right for me to then take other people there. That being said, most all of the locations that I do take clients to, are all places that I found on my own, and I feel better about taking people places if I found it, because it's all on me. I'm not, losing anybody's trust in me. I'm not taking advantage of anybody. But yeah, there are definitely places that are special to me that I would not go to. Good question. Hockey Guy 515, he says, what type of lure do you most enjoy using for muskie, bucktail, surface, rubber swimbait, jerkbait, etc.? And then question 2, what muskie lure produced the most fish in 2020? Let's see. My favorite lure that I enjoy using? Enjoy is a kind of a weird word when it comes to muskie fishing. I don't really know if anybody enjoys muskie fishing. It's more like we have obsessions and we have to do it. But muskie fishing by nature is an unenjoyable process. It's hard, it's long, it's full of disappointment, and then boom, 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 you get a fish, you get a fish, you get a fish, and it's like incredible, but then followed by another 10 hours of misery. So what do I enjoy the most? Well, probably I would enjoy the most what's the easiest to fish, and so I'd probably say surface baits, but definitely surface baits. When a muskie hits a surface bait, it is like an explosion in the water. If a muskie hits like a subsurface jig or a crankbait, you might not even know. You might think, oh, I bumped a rock or something, but when it hits the surface, you know for sure that was a fish. And then he asks, what was the most produced lure? I don't really know. Maybe bucktails, maybe surface baits, maybe glide baits. I had a lot of fun this year using, I think they're called River to Sea. Oh shoot, now I forgot what they're called. I'm trying to see behind me if I have any. Oh, these things. At the moment I forgot what they're called. Oh, that's right. That's right, they're called ICBMs. The Intercontinental Ballistic Minnow. They're not a muskie bait at all. They're small. I think they're more like smallmouth / pike. But we caught a variety of small muskie on those this year, so that might have produced the most fish. Not the most nice fish, though. That's a key point there. All right, so here we're up to our first winner. Camas Lindbeck says, have you ever caught a coho on any of your UP streams? No, Camas, I don't think I've caught any silvers. Silvers coho, same thing. I don't think I've caught any in the UP. They are up here. I just don't fish for salmon ever. I don't think I've caught a salmon in Michigan, that is, in like 15 years, 20 years maybe. I've caught a lot in Alaska, but that's slightly different. All right, Jeff Zetch, thank you for posting. He says, happy holidays. Really appreciate your channel and the great content. He says, other than local knowledge, what other ways do you use to identify new waters to explore? And do you prefer your Hooligan or Kayak when solo? Great question. If I'm solo, probably I prefer the Kayak when I'm solo, just because it's easier to maneuver and get around. But I do like the Hooligan, though, solo. It can be a lot of fun, but it's heavy by yourself. What other ways do I identify water? And I said it earlier, but Google Maps is like the most amazing thing that ever happened to fishermen. I locate water, and my first thing, I don't look if it's fishy. I don't care about fishiness. What I look for is no houses, no boats, limited access. Those three things. Boom, boom, boom. Limited access, no boats, no houses. If I can find those three things, I know I have found fish, because there are fish where there are not people. Easy as that. Aaron Soto says, do you use a steel leader or heavy fluorocarbon when targeting toothy critters? Is your main line braid? Do you use a line-to-line connection or a swivel if a leader is used? A lot of questions. I'll say that basically I do all of that. It depends on the situation. Mostly musky fishing, I'm using heavy fluorocarbon. I think it's anywhere between 80 to 160 pound fluoro. But there is then a swivel that attaches to the braid. If I'm fishing for smaller toothy critters like pike, I'll usually use a line-to-line connection, and then I'll go with like 40 to 60 pound fluoro. I haven't had a pike bite through 40 pound fluoro ever, maybe. They can do it, but it's not super common. All right, so Alex K says, what is your favorite way to pick apart a new section of river? Do you just use confidence baits, or do you fish the specific structure with techniques that suit them? So, Alex, I do a bit of both. I'm always using confidence baits, but what I've found is that I have a confidence bait in all categories of baits. So I have a confidence topwater, I have a confidence spinner, I have a confidence crank, I have a confidence jig, I have a confidence spinner bait, worm, stick, whatever it is, I have a confidence bait. So if I'm trying new water, I usually bring all of my go-to tackle, and at that point I will target the specific structures and try baits on them. Usually I'm fishing small, shallow rivers, so you really only need a handful of different style of baits, and you can cover mostly everything. But that being said, I'm constantly trying new techniques, new places, and just always exploring, always trying new things, because that's what's so much fun, is trying it out and seeing what you can catch. Todd Shook has this one, and hi there, Todd. Nice to see you. He says, good afternoon, Benjamin. At what water temperature do smallies start actively feeding in the spring? Oh, Todd, this is a difficult question. It depends on where you're at, and it depends on the river system, it depends on the lake, it just depends on way too many factors for me to easily answer this question, because everything's different. I mean, really it depends on where you're at. You can have a body of water that is, 10, 15 degrees difference in different places due to these different factors. What warms up quicker, what warms up slower. You know, shallow bodies of water, darker water, it's going to warm up quicker. Deeper, clearer bodies of water are going to warm up slower. If there's like snow melt and ice melt that's constantly cooling off that water, again, it's going to be going to take longer. Usually, I don't target top water until, generally speaking, like June. I have caught fish before June, but I wouldn't suggest it. Not for topwater unless you find the perfect conditions and the perfect day. But even though June can be too early in some points, there have been years where mid-June, I mean halfway through June, and it's still cold, 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 and it's just not ready. So, but June is usually a good bet. Jishnu PS, hopefully I said that right. He asks about items that are used when making a tent in winter for lake fishing, and what are the items required inside the tent. So I think you're talking about ice fishing. I don't ice fish very much, but I mean, what you need in a tent is, what do you need in a shack? Let's see. I mean, you need a heater. I think that's going to be the number one. You need a heater in that ice shack. A Vexilar system is really nice because it does both the depth and it also tells you if there's fish down there. You need your ice auger to get through the ice, and you need a really good camp stool so that you can sit there and not freeze your butt off. But really, I am not the person to ask about ice fishing stuff. I am a terrible ice fisherman. But thank you for the question anyways. Michael says, we fished a certain location, and they caught everything but walleye. They just wouldn't bite. Any favorite lures or techniques for UP wallies? To be completely honest, I have no idea. When it comes to lake fishing for walleye, I don't really know. I know a lot of people fish early or they fish late, and they use worms or they use minnows, slip bobbers. I don't fish live bait ever, so I couldn't really tell you. A lot of people troll along the bottom with crawler harnesses, but I don't have any knowledge on that. I'm sorry, that's a question I just don't know. Mr. Bryce Inc. says, do you miss going out on the kayak since you've had the boat, or do you still go out on it? Yes, I do miss going out on the kayak. This last year, I only got out on the kayak a handful of times. Just was so busy with my raft. I think 54 times I was on my raft. 54 different days, that is, on my raft. So the kayak was not utilized as well as it could have been. But I love that kayak. I do miss it. It's so much fun kayak fishing. West Michigan Outdoors. Represent West Michigan. There you go. Does the Hooligan raft hold air good during cold water? Cold weather. Yes and no. If you pump it up during the day in cold weather, then yeah, it'll hold air great. But if you let it sit out for a while in cold weather, it will start to deflate eventually. I would say that, you know, it's totally usable as a winter raft as well. There's a lot of videos online of people using Hooligans in the winter. If you check out YouTube Stealthcraft Boats, the owner, Mike, actually has a video, well, I think it might be Mike, where they have the Hooligan out and they're portaging around an obstacle in the middle of winter, and you can see snow, you can see ice. So yes, it definitely works in winter. All the water by me is closed up and thick with ice, so I don't do winter trips. So Kyle Drury says, I've seen you fish both. Fly or lure is your favorite. Favorite time of year to fly fish? Okay, that's two. But I figured at least one would have already been asked. So Kyle Drury asks, fly or lure? Probably for the sake of convenience, I like spin fishing. However, if I'm in a location that it's practical to fly fish, and the fish are in a mood to bite, then I love to fly fish as well. It kind of depends on if I'm going just to fish a spot, I'm casting just to blow off steam, then I'm going to spin fish. If I know there are fish somewhere and I'm like excited about it and I want to just like smash them on the fly, then fly fishing. A lot of the places I fish don't have they don't have the room to fly fish effectively. They're tight, they're narrow, they're small, there's tag alders everywhere. So in that case, spin fishing wins. Favorite time of the year to fly fish? I prefer fly fishing when I can stand up in the river itself and wet wade. So summertime, only summertime for me. Matt Velderman, if you guys remember Matt, he actually was that guy that caught 3 muskie in one day with me. He had the biggest fish from 2020, so Matt, congratulations on that. He says, looking to get my first legit spin rod set up for pike and smallmouth bass and trout. What's a good all-round rod and reel, and where should I start when I come with lures? I typically fish small rivers and creeks and shallow ponds and lakes. Tips on storage for wading. I typically fly fish and use a sling pack that fits fly boxes. I think there's like a really inexpensive combos out there. I wouldn't fish pike, smallmouth, and trout on the same rod and reel. I think that you are going to be under fishing when it comes to under geared when it's for pike and smallmouth, and then you're going to be over geared for trout. I think that you should have one combo for trout, one combo for smallmouth and pike. If you look into rod reel combos, generally speaking, a medium light or a light or an ultra light works great for trout. Like you can get like a size 2000 or 2500 reel. Usually I like a combo from like Fluger has a presidential combo. I think it runs like $80 maybe, $90, something like that, which is just really nice. You can do everything you need. That same combo though, if you go with a medium or a medium heavy, don't go with a heavy, but medium or medium heavy, like a 6 foot, 6 inch rod would probably be just fine for smallmouth and pike. So usually with the ultralight, it's like maybe like a 5.5 foot or like a 5 foot rod for your spin fishing for trout though. Sometimes even shorter than that. John Lott, he says, do you use electronics when fishing, and what/how do you do it? No, I don't. I don't use electronics ever. I'm kind of minimalistic in that regard. I usually don't use motors, and I don't use fish finders, depth finders. I have considered buying a castable depth finder. I think they're from Deeper Chirp, I think is what they're called. I want to get one, but they're like $300, so I am kind of on the edge about that. But I think it would be really cool to get one of those castable bobbers, let it float down through a set of rapids or something, and just kind of see what's in there, because there's no way really to know the depth or the structure anywhere else. Barney Ewing says, what are your thoughts on barbless hooks? Oh my gosh, my man. This is an absolute can of worms to open that one up. That would take a whole 30-minute video to talk about the pros and cons of barbless hooks. But I'll stick with this. I feel that barbless hooks are probably, in the long run, much better for delicate fish species. Trout fishing, obviously if you're doing catch and release, I think that probably ethically you should be doing barbless hooks, especially if they're treble hooks. Oh my gosh, they should be barbless. That being said, if it's a single hook and the single hook and the barb isn't too obtrusive, I usually use a small barb, but I would prefer, in a world where I had all the time that I could fish all the time I wanted to, I'd probably use barbless. I do honestly feel that catch more fish with barbs. I mean, obviously, probably. But I have tried before fishing like topwater lures where I have removed my treble hooks and I have only gone single hook, and I've pinched the barbs, and I lost so many fish that it frustrated me until I went back. But in an ideal world, I do think that barbless hooks are much better for conservation and yeah, and for conservation. Lucky Haskins says, "What happened so bad in 2020?" Oh, I think this was a silly question. You know the answer to that, my man. 2020 was crazy pants, but hopefully 2021 is going to be much better. Jay Joswick? It looks maybe like a Polish last name. I don't know if I said that right. I apologize if I didn't. He says, "I'm primarily a bank fisherman, but just recently got an angling kayak. What is your best advice for someone new to the kayak game?" Oh, I have a suggestion for you. Start small. Start on a lake, pond. Better start on a pond. And also start in water that is warm. Don't go out in winter, don't go out in spring, don't go out in fall. Wait till it's hot in the middle of the summer and go practice on your kayak. And my biggest tip, and this is going to sound again weird, but my biggest tip for a beginner is go and get in the kayak and tip yourself. And do it multiple times in shallow water and figure out what will tip you, what won't tip you. A lot of people, like, they get onto a kayak and they're like, they don't want to tip, they don't want to do anything wrong. But I think it's good to tip, because then you'll know what are the limitations and what can that kayak do. If it's a stand-up kayak for fishing, stand up and rock the boat. Stand on one side, the kayak will go like this. See what you have to do to flip it. And last, which is also super important, when you're in the water, figure out how to flip your kayak back over and get back onto it. Pull yourself back up. Those things are super important, and always wear a life jacket. Other than that, once you've figured out how to kayak, then add the fishing aspect in and you're good to go. Right, so I'm back. If it looks different, it's because I just put the baby to bed and I'm back down here. So let's keep going, guys. We have Harvey Anger, and he's asking if I'm going to be fishing Lake Superior on the ice this year. Who knows? It's a possibility. Probably not, but maybe. I'm not really much of an ice fisherman, but sometimes it's fun to get out and try new places, so that's a possibility. I have gone ice fishing twice this year. Caught some perch, caught some walleye. It was a lot of fun, so I might go again. Courtney Samuelson, she asks, for smallmouth bass, which is better, topwater or spinnerbait? This is an opinion question, because either one could be better in different situations, but I assume you're just asking which one is like more fun. I would say topwater is better for enjoyment factor. However, subsurface almost always is going to be more effective, but not as much fun. I mean, I'd rather catch 10 fish on top water than 15 fish subsurface, but some people might not. So probably the spinnerbait would win in the long run. ONC says, do you have a single favorite musky fly? No, not really. Different days, different flies. No specifics. There are some colors that I like, and there's certain actions that I like, but mostly streamers, subsurface. But musky fly fishing isn't something that I do a whole lot of. Musky fishing I do a lot of, but musky fly fishing is not so much. But definitely streamers. Something with a kick. I like the kick action. But that's about it. I don't like throwing things that are too large either. I mean, kind of lazy when it comes to fly fishing, so 9 inches, that's enough for me. I don't need to go longer than that. Dustin Hines says, do you run fly-only trips on your local waters for muskie? I have in the past, yeah. I've run fly-only trips for muskie. It always depends on what people want to do and what is available, and there's a bunch of factors that go into it. But yes, I have done that, and it is a possibility. But I don't prefer muskie trips. I much prefer smallmouth trips, just because there's so much more action, and generally speaking, it's just more of an enjoyable day to go fishing for smallmouth. But definitely, muskie is a thing on the fly. It's a lot of fun when it happens. Slurpy Films says, what is your favorite fish to target? If you guys have been listening to this, you've probably heard me say smallmouth like 15 times, so I'm just going to say it again. I love targeting smallmouth bass. They're aggressive, they're vicious, they are fun, they're hard fighters, and they're suckers for topwater. So, all those things put together, they're a lot of fun. Straight Flush says, what's your favorite season for fishing? Do you prefer using fly rod or traditional rod and reel? I already answered before about the fly fishing / spin fishing, but the favorite season, I like it when it's warm. Okay, I like it when it's warm. So summertime, we don't have much summer in the Upper Peninsula. We get like 3 months ish. And so any time that I can be wet wading is a good time to be fishing, in my opinion. William Hoffman, hey there. He asks, what would be a good lure for bass? I assume you're talking about largemouth / smallmouth. It depends on where you're fishing. But one very effective way to catch bass is simply with a tactic called the wacky worm. And I know it sounds weird, but basically it's a small hook that's hooked through the middle of a plastic worm, and as the worm goes, you cast it out and it sinks, the worm undulates going down kind of like this. Fish come up, they slurp it, you don't even feel it. They start to go away, you feel a little bit of resistance, set the hook, and you've hooked into a nice bass. Wacky worms catch fish. So, that's what I do, Will. Lucky Haskins, again, he asks about leaders, swivels, or direct tie. Leaders, swivels, or direct tie. I would always prefer using a fluorocarbon leader that is directly tied line to line, not onto my braid, going directly to the lure if possible. However, sometimes swivels are a necessity just because you're going to be switching out lures frequently. But if I had the optimal situation, I think I would tie on always. Joe Donati, I think I said that right, Donati maybe? Do you have a top color for muskies in your tannin stained water? And if so, what is it? So Joe, I don't have like a top color, I don't think. I would just say that I appreciate bright colors in the tannin stained waters. I like things that are bright. And I don't know if it affects the musky fishing, but it affects my mood when I'm musky fishing, and perhaps that's why I think I do better. I can see those bright colors in the water. I can see the action, and in my head, that helps me be a better angler, and I'm more interested, and then I'm more aware when there are muskie following and whatnot. So it's not that the colors are the best, it's just what makes me a better fisherman. Richard Thomas, hey there Richard, I hope you're doing well. He asks, what do you suggest for people who wear glasses when they want to wear polarized glasses? You know, Richard, you could go to Walmart and you could get a $15 pair of polarized glasses, or you could go to, shoot, there's like a bunch of really expensive fishing glasses, and I'm right now blanking on them, but there are options out there all the way up. I mean, I wore for a long time $20 pair from Walmart. Are they great? No. Do they do the job? Kind of. I've recently upgraded to much nicer ones because I broke my last pair of glasses. It seems that I go through like 2 or 3 pair of glasses a season. This last year, I took one lure straight to the glass. Well, it's not glass anymore, but to the glasses. And then I also took one rod tip straight to the glasses. So both times I say that it saved my eye. It would have been my right eye both times that would have been blasted. So definitely a great thing to wear on the water. Everyone should have glasses. But the polarized aspect is also nice because you can see those fish. But I really think any polarized glasses, as long as they're shatterproof, I think you're good with those. WRamsey 193, he is the other winner, so congratulations. What is your favorite fall muskie pattern? You know, again, with favorite patterns for muskie, I don't really have many. I don't fish much in the fall. I stopped fishing for muskie in October, early October probably, because I'm a teacher and I go back in late August, so I don't have much time to fish out there. I don't fish that often for them, so I don't really have a favorite muskie pattern. I do somewhat like the I don't know if it's the mini Medusa. I don't know if it's the mini Medusa or the micro. It's not the micro, because the micro is this one. Micro is a bit smaller, but I think it's the mini Medusa. I do like that. But again, it's not. I don't have a favorite pattern. I do like glide baits though. But I use glide baits all the time, not just in the fall. Michael Prius says Dropshot or Ned Rig when targeting smallies. This is an easy one for me to answer, Michael. Ned Rig all day, every day. And the reason for that, and it might sound crazy, but unless they've changed the rules and I'm unaware of it, drop shotting is illegal. That is against the Michigan DNR rules on rivers. There's a couple of regulations in there, and I'm not entirely sure why those regulations are the way they are, but the last time I looked up the rules, I was blown away, and I was like, what, you can't drop shot? So Ned Rig it is. Chris Larson, I believe this is the last question of the day. We've gone through, I believe, 40 questions, guys. Hopefully you're still with me. If you're still with me, you are a champion. You're a warrior. Thank you so much for making it through, 40 minutes of me blathering. If you found any of this interesting, I hope it helped you. If you have any more questions, let me know. Send me an email if you want like a better response. If I didn't quite get the response that you were looking for. But Chris Larson says, do you have any bucket list fish? And then he also asks about 2 or 3 confidence flies for muskie and or smallmouth. So I'll start with the bucket list fish. I want to catch a 50-inch muskie. I have not yet caught, personally, a 50-inch muskie, and I would like to do it. And I'm going to put some stipulations on that. Not out of the Great Lakes, not out of a massive lake, but I'm looking for a 50-inch river muskie. I don't even know if they exist, but, well, no, I take that back. I do know they exist, but they are uber rare. One of these days it's going to happen, so I'm looking forward to that. I'd also like to catch a sturgeon, maybe. I'd like to catch some other fish here and there, but yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. 2 or 3 confidence flies for muskie and or smallmouth. Let's see, smallmouth. Oh geez, I don't know the name of it. What's its name? It's this little crayfish lure. Scruff and Tough? No, that's not its name. I have a few of them somewhere, but this little go-to crayfish imitation It sinks. It's a double dumbbell style on the eye. It gets down quickly. Had a lot of fun with that this year. Other than that, I like I don't know if it's Boogle or Boogle Bug, one of the two. I mean, but that's like a super well-known popper style for smallies. But it works, and I like it, and it's totally fun smashing them on top. So with that being said, I want to thank all of you guys so much for being subscribers, for watching this video, and the next video that's coming out, I'm currently making one. It's back to our river fishing shenanigans. I have a lot of great content that it just takes me a bit of time to edit it down, so be on the lookout for those uploads, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful winter. We're currently in, what is it, January right now? So like 3 or 4 more months of snow and ice, and then we're gonna have like a month or 2 of slush, and then after that, it's summer, baby. All right, you guys are awesome. Have a lovely day or night or morning, whatever, excuse me, whatever time it is for you, and I will see you guys in the next video. As always, catch, release, wander.